Welcome to the Asbestos Knowledge Empire.
What does asbestos management mean to you?
I used to really struggle with the asbestos management at my site, but now it's a breeze.
It used to be really expensive. I was paying loads, but now I've got my asbestos power team in place. It's so much easier.
Asbestos can be a pain in the arse if not handled right.
We had to stop the job because asbestos was discovered. Now we don't have that problem.
Asbestos management is easier than you think. Asbestos management. Be proactive, not reactive. Think about asbestos first, not last.
And now your hosts, best-selling authors and asbestos experts, Ian Stone and Neil Munro.
Welcome to Asbestos Knowledge Empire. My name's Neil Munro.
And I'm Ian Stone.
So today we're going to be talking about decontamination unit.
Yes, DCUs as they're sometimes referred to.
Abbreviated to, yeah.
Or some people go, it's the caravan.
They do, all a burger van.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So when do we use decontamination units? Well, generally they need to be done whenever there's a requirement or there's a likelihood of the operative becoming grossly contaminated. And usually this is always undertaken on a licence asbestos removal project, typically when, the higher risk requirement for decontamination is used, so removal of, asbestos insulating board, pipe insulation, those types of works, they would always require a decontamination unit.
The decontamination unit is there for that purpose. It is to decontaminate the person. The way it's set up, it's a shower unit essentially. It's got various sections to it, but essentially it is a shower unit where operatives put on their work gear and they take off their work gear, and after they've taken off their work gear, they shower off to remove all traces of asbestos and any other contamination that they've had from doing their day's work.
There's this kind of three types of decontamination unit. Mm-hmm. A couple of them are more common than the other one. The first one, and probably the most common, is the mobile unit. So it's kind of like, as we said at the beginning, it looks like a caravan / burger van, doesn't it?
They're normally white kind of oblong units. They've got either two doors on the side or one door on the side and one at the back. Depends on what size they are. I remember one of the manufacturers did a really tiny version for kind of even more manoeuvrability, but that only had one shower head in, whereas on most standard, the ones that everybody uses in every day have two shower heads, don't they? And like we're saying, it is that side. It's the size of kind of a transit van itself. Yeah. It's a trailer unit on the back that gets towed.
Yep. The other type is a modular unit. Now, these are kind of purpose-built ones that you can kind of get into locations where you can't get the mobile unit in.
They're collapsible units, aren't they? They're kind of like a flat pack design that can be put up in, like you say, any kind of location. I mean, most locations that they'd be used are if the transit route from the working area to the decontamination unit was going to be either too risky or too far. That would be when a mobile unit would be used.
Yeah, quite common on sort of retail projects, weren't it? So where you've got a high street and there's nowhere of getting any sort of vehicle or anything near the actual property itself, these are commonly used in those environments, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean, modular units as well, they're also used kind of in buildings where, I don't know, say for instance, you're working on the 6th floor doing asbestos insulating board removal, and the only way down is via the stairs because the lift doesn't work or something like that, then that's too far for operatives to transit. It's not exactly great having people walk downstairs with masks on, so you would consider looking at a modular unit.
So the final type, which is less common really, is a vehicle decontamination unit, and that's essentially a big lorry or van which it actually drives, and the decontamination unit is part of that vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, they sometimes have it's twofold. It's the decontamination unit and the welfare facility within it, isn't it? So, like, it's got a canteen area and a toilet as well as the actual decontamination unit. I've never been on one that's been in, like, on the back of a vehicle. No. I think the largest one I've ever been in was, I think it had 8 shower heads in. It was huge, this really huge unit. Yeah. And again, that was kind of a sited unit that also had like welfare facilities and toilets and bits like that in really. But like you say, the first one that you mentioned they're the most common. They're the ones for virtually every run-of-the-mill asbestos job out there.
So what kind of stuff does it need to have in?
So first and foremost are the labels. So if you think about the outside, the doors, it'll always have 2 doors into the unit, and one will be marked clean end, one will be marked dirty end.
And the unit is actually split into 3 kind of chambers, isn't it?
Yeah, 3 compartments, 3 chambers. It's got 2 doors in it that are self-closing, so that once an operative has been through that section, it closes and fully seals that section behind afterwards to reduce the risk of bringing any contamination through.
Yeah. So there'd be a dirty end, a shower area, and a clean end, won't there? Yeah. And generally, each compartment, like Ian said, should be sealed within its own. So what kind of types of stuff that needs to be in each area? Should we start with the dirty end first?
Yes, dirty end. I mean, some obvious things, lighting. You could be working days, nights, whenever, so it needs adequate lighting. A mirror in there, negative pressure unit. So what that does, that is essentially, it's like a mini drivable enclosure.
Yeah.
Because that MPU, the negative pressure unit, is changing the air within the dirty end, and it's pulling air through from the clean end. So therefore, with the MPU running, it's the same principle of an asbestos enclosure, that it only sucks air in, it doesn't blow air out.
Yeah.
A drain needs to be in there, a bench so you can take your gear on and off, a heater, and a self-closing door.
Heat is quite an important one, isn't it?
Heater's massively important.
Because in the winter, they can be cold, very cold places.
Well, that's it. I mean, a decontamination unit is kind of, they're just fiberglass units, and there's no insulation or anything. So for all intents and purposes, when you're standing in the dirty end or in the shower naked, you're there naked in the middle of nowhere, essentially, because you've got no insulation around you.
So the operative would come from the asbestos enclosure. They'll primarily decontaminate in the area, pass through the airlocks, and get to the decontamination unit, enter through the dirty end, and as Ian said, that's where they take their
That's what you
transit overalls off.
You strip off all your clothes,
leaving their respirator on.
Yes. Yeah, it's a good point that you made though about preliminary decontamination, because that's it. It's not like the operatives walk straight from the works enclosure to go and have a shower.
Covered in azzy.
No, the preliminary decontamination will consist of buddy vacuuming each other off, washing the mask off, washing the boots, things like that, and then changing into transit overalls. Yeah. So again, they shouldn't be putting on coveralls over working coveralls. That they should be essentially, it's stripping down, so all you've got left on is your boots and your mask. You put on your clean transit overalls and you transit to the dirty end of the decontamination unit, where, like you say, that's where you get, again, you strip off again.
So in essence, really, you should really be clean to a certain extent, entering the decontamination unit.
And entering the dirty end, which it sounds kind of crackers, but for us, it makes sense in the fact of, well, you're not clean until you've been through the decontamination. That's why it's called the dirty end. Yeah. So I suppose the next section is the shower.
Into the shower, yeah. So
what we got in the shower?
Obviously, it should have a shower. It should have running water, and the shower should be working. Hot. It should be warm water. Yeah. It should have, obviously, a drain that is working. Mm-hmm. That's really important. It should have a light, so the operative can see what they're doing. Again, it should have a self-closing door. There should be a nail brush in there. Obviously, shower gel or soap or whatever, but usually shower gel to obviously help the operative clean themselves down.
Yeah, and again, when the operative enters the shower area, I think it's minimum of 5 minutes showering. Might be more now. I don't know. It's been a while since I've actually been through a decon. But the purpose is that there's a set time limit of a minimum amount to go through there, so that you kind of, for all intents and purposes, you can guarantee that you are clean when you come out. Yeah. And it is having a full shower.
But this is, and with their respirator on.
Yes.
So they should really clean themselves down as much as they can. So it's literally that their whole body is clean, other than their face. Yeah. Before they take off their respirator.
Exactly. They'll wash over the respirator as well, and only right at the very end of showering, when they are decontaminated, is when they'll remove the respirator and just kind of, like you say, finish off, clean their face, wash their hair, etc. And just really that's when they feel satisfied. And that's it. It's down to a person as well, because some enclosures that you go in and work in, I mean, asbestos removal, it can be a horrible, dirty job. And some of the enclosures that the guys work in, you do get absolutely kind of caked. Do you know what I mean? In dust and debris.
Grained. Sometimes there's like grease and oil.
Yeah.
And it can kind of get ingrained even through gloves sometimes.
Exactly. Even with the protective gear on. Yeah. So yeah, it's when the operative feels that they've decontaminated, that they're clean, all of their fingernails are clean, all the rest of it. That's when they can remove the respirator. When they've done that, give that like a final once over, and then it'll be a case of moving in through into the clean end.
And that's where at this process they would towel off in disposable towels, so like paper towels should be present, clean themselves off.
The industry used to use reusable towels, and they used to be sent off and get them laundered, which I suppose there might be a cost saving, I don't know, or what.
Yeah, I suppose the products weren't available really, was it?
No. I mean, the towels that are used nowadays they're all good.
You can get dry adequately, can't you?
Yeah.
Towel off, and then they're kind of free. What they do is again finish off cleaning their respirators as well, just give them a while, wipe down, dry off, and basically get sort of changed into their corporate or their sort of civvy clothes.
Civvies, yeah. Yeah, I mean, once they've done that with the respirator, they'll put it back in the box, and they'll also put the charging unit on charge. Yeah. And that's something that needs to be in the decon end, the clean end. It's like lockers where they can stow their gear. Yeah. It should have chargers in there. Again, a bench seat so you can kind of get dressed easily and properly. Heating, again, is a good thing to have in that end, especially in the winter. 100%. There's nothing worse.
But to go with that, there's a couple of things that you probably need from a safety point of view. Is fire extinguisher, first aid box can be kept in there, and also that again should have a self-closing door.
Yeah, and what the self-closing doors, they're just spring-loaded doors. So once you've been through the door, you let it go, and it literally will close to its full seal itself. And like I say, that's to stop contamination coming through or bringing it through with you.
Yeah.
So some other bits that you need for a working decontamination unit. So it needs to have a 4-stage clearance, doesn't it?
Yeah, unless it's a brand new decontamination unit.
Yeah, first time ever used.
Which we've had the stories, haven't we? When because that's kind of when we're project managing asbestos removal jobs, and even coming to do the 4-stage clearance, we would check this. There should be paperwork from the previous job.
Yeah.
It's the amount of times when it's not present, it's like, it's a brand new unit.
It's a brand new, it looks like it was built in 85, mate. Yeah, so a 4-stage clearance needs to be present. And what that is saying is that it's clean to go in as is. Mm-hmm. So at the beginning of the job, when it's all being set up, the contractors can move in and out of the dirty end whilst they're getting everything prepared and everything set up. Yeah. And you're safe in the knowledge that it's past the 4-stage clearance.
There should be a DOP test for the negative pressure unit. Mm-hmm. That's every 6 months. Yeah. That's basically a check to make sure that is working correctly and it's pulling the right extraction. Test on the gas appliance, so the heater, that's the boiler that's heating the water for the shower, and the taps. Also, there should be electrical test as well, because it's an electrical unit. They'll have a generator usually, or a plug-in. It can be plugged in. Electrical tests on all those systems, and that should be routinely checked as well.
The long and short of it, it should be in good working order. It should look good. It should be clean on the outside and inside.
It should have clean filters for the shower as well.
Yeah, that's a big one. For me, that's always a tell of kind of are the contractors going to be any good or not. Yeah. When you do a decontamination unit check to make sure it's all set up properly, and you have a little look around and you have a look at the water filter, straight away you can see whether it's clean or dirty. Yeah. And if they set up a job with a dirty filter straight away, for me that kind of sets alarm bells off, because it's like, well, no, new job, clean filter. Come on, let's start where we mean to kind of be. That's a big one that I always like to check. I think that probably covers everything for decontamination.
Yeah, the only thing I
units.
think probably haven't mentioned is signage and stuff like that for the units. No entry signs, and the outside door should be lockable as well.
Yes, they should. And that's a really big one. They should be lockable and they should be locked when not in use. It's easy when you're working on site to think about, right, I need to get in the area, go and crack on. Well, the supervisor should be going and locking that decontamination unit after the operatives leave. And again, that's kind of twofold. One, as an operative working in an enclosure, I want to know that my wallet and my phone and all my gear's okay in the clean end. But also, it's to stop members of the public just having a look, because
People are nosy.
they are nosy. And even though there's big signs on it and stuff like that,
I want me burger.
people are opening it, thinking there's a burger or a bacon sarnie sitting in there.
I hope you found that useful. Just a little insight into decontamination units. I think that we're coming up to, this is over 80 episodes of the podcast. And if you have got any questions, or you feel like we haven't covered something, we'd really appreciate if you could sort of reach out to us. Either contact us at Acorn or through our Facebook community page.
All you've got to do is search for Asbestos Knowledge Empire on Facebook, and you can contact us through that. This is why we do this. We want to give information to people that want that information, so that we can share it and just give that little bit over to people, so that hopefully we are making a difference and clarifying stuff that perhaps you've been unable to clarify elsewhere.
Yeah, there might be like that question. So I've always wondered about X, Y, and Z.
That burning question, just ask us, it's fine.
Okay, so that covers us for today. Remember, asbestos first, not last.